The day I buried my mother, I discovered she'd left me $19 million and a warning from beyond the grave. The letter in her hidden safe read, "The woman you married isn't who she claims to be." What the private investigator uncovered about my wife Veronica made me realize my mother saved my life by dying. My name is Roland Deaver. I'm 44 years old, and I own a hardware store in small-town Indiana. For 7 years, I was married to a woman I thought I knew. I slept beside her every night, shared my dreams with her, built what I believed was a future together. But my mother, Dorothy, the woman who raised me alone after my father died, saw what I couldn't see. Even as cancer ate away at her brain, even as she struggled to speak, she was protecting me from a truth that would shatter everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and the person I'd chosen to spend my life with. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about how a dying mother's intuition uncovered a conspiracy that involved 5 different families across 5 states. It's about a woman who wasn't just cheating on me, but was legally married to 4 other men at the same time, playing out a con game so elaborate that federal investigators said they'd never seen anything like it. But most of all, this is about the choice that started everything. When my wife stood in our bedroom and demanded I choose between her and my dying mother. "It's her or me," Veronica said, her perfect red nails tapping against her designer suitcase. "Choose now." I chose Mom, and that choice revealed a $19 million secret and a criminal enterprise that had destroyed dozens of lives. My mother knew something was wrong. She knew Veronica was dangerous, and with her final breath, she made sure I would discover the truth. What would you do if the person you trusted most turned out to be living 5 different lives? What would you do if your dying parents' last gift wasn't just money, but evidence that would bring down an entire criminal network? This is what happened to me, and by the end of this story, you'll understand why I say my mother's death saved my life. Let me take you back to before everything fell apart, to when I thought I had a simple, good life with a beautiful wife and a loving mother. Before I learned that sometimes the people who smile the widest are hiding the darkest secrets. Before I discovered that my wife Veronica had a different name in each state she visited, and that her real husband was the mastermind behind it all. Life, before everything collapsed, was simple but good. I ran Deaver's Hardware on Main Street, the store my late father started 30 years ago. Every morning, I'd unlock those doors at 6 a.m. sharp, the smell of wood stain and metal filling my lungs like home. The cash register from 1987 still worked perfectly, and regular customers knew they could find me behind the counter, ready with advice on everything from pipe fittings to paint, primers. My mother, Dorothy, lived just 3 blocks away in the house where I grew up, a 2-story colonial with white shutters and a garden that was the envy of the neighborhood. At 71, she still tended her tomatoes and roses religiously, bringing fresh produce to the store every Tuesday in a basket she'd woven herself back in the 70s. "Roland, you work too hard," she'd say, placing the basket on the counter while straightening the display of screwdrivers nearby. "When's that wife of yours going to give me grandchildren?" I'd smile and give the same answer. "When Veronica's ready, Mom. She's building her career right now." Veronica and I had been married 7 years. She worked as a real estate agent for Century Homes, always dressed impeccably in tailored suits and heels that clicked purposefully on our hardwood floors. We met when she sold the commercial property next to my store. I still remember her walking in that first day, all confidence and charm, asking about the neighborhood demographics for her client presentation. "You have honest eyes," she'd said on our first date at Rosario's Italian restaurant. "I like that in a man. Too many people in my business forget that trust is everything." The irony of that statement haunts me now. Our life had settled into comfortable routines. Sunday dinners at Mom's house where she'd make her famous pot roast with carrots and potatoes just the way Dad used to love it. Veronica would bring wine, always something expensive that she'd learned about from her networking events. We'd sit around Mom's dining table, the one Dad made by hand, and talk about the week ahead. Veronica's business trips were part of our rhythm. Every other week, she'd pack her silver carry-on and kiss me goodbye. Big client in Phoenix, she'd say, or property viewing in Dallas. This could be a huge commission, honey. She always came back with signed contracts and commission checks that helped pay off our mortgage faster. I was proud of her success, proud that my wife was building something significant. Your father would have liked her drive, Mom said once, though something in her tone suggested uncertainty. The truth was, Mom never warmed to Veronica completely. She was always polite, always welcoming, but there was a reserve there. During those Sunday dinners, I'd catch Mom watching Veronica when she thought no one was looking, her eyes analytical behind her wire-rimmed glasses. She smiles with her mouth, but not her eyes, Mom mentioned one evening while we washed dishes together. Veronica had left early, claiming a client emergency. And have you noticed she never talks about her family? Her parents died in a car accident when she was 20, I explained, drying the plates Mom handed me. It's painful for her. 7 years and not one photo? Not one story about her childhood? Mom, not everyone processes grief the same way. She dried her hands on the kitchen towel, the one with the embroidered chickens I'd given her for Mother's Day. I just worry about you, Roland. Your father was the same way, always seeing the best in people. It's a good quality, but sometimes people take advantage of good. I dismissed it as typical mother-in-law territorialism. Mom had been the only woman in my life for so long after Dad died when I was 15. She'd worked 3 jobs to keep the store afloat and put me through community college. Maybe it was natural she'd be protective. Our daily routine was predictable in the best way. I'd open the store, help customers find what they needed, teach the Peterson boy how to use a level properly, show Mrs. Chen which drill bit would work best for her art projects. Veronica would call at lunch telling me about her showings, her voice animated with possibility. Evenings were ours, dinner at home, maybe some television. Comfortable silence that I thought meant contentment. Saturdays were for inventory and repairs at the store. Sundays were for family. Mom would often stop by the store during the week, bringing lunch in Tupperware containers labeled with my name in her careful handwriting. We'd eat together in the back office, surrounded by invoices and catalogs, talking about everything and nothing. Then came that Tuesday in March when Mom didn't bring tomatoes. I waited until noon, then called her house. No answer. The worry started as a small knot in my stomach. By 2 o'clock, I'd flipped the store sign to closed and driven to her house. I found her collapsed in her garden, barely conscious, her left side paralyzed, dirt still under her fingernails from trying to crawl to the house. Everything changed in that moment. The simple, good life I'd known was over. The diagnosis hit like a sledgehammer. Aggressive brain cancer, stage 4. Dr. Brennan at Methodist Hospital showed us the scan. The tumor sprawled across Mom's brain like an ink stain. 3 months, maybe 6 if we were lucky. Mom took the news better than I did, squeezing my hand with her good one while I fought to keep my composure. Well, I better update my will, she said with that practical tone she used for grocery lists. And Roland, stop looking like someone shot your dog. We all have our time. I immediately converted our guest room into a care facility. Within 48 hours, I'd installed a hospital bed, oxygen tanks, and a baby monitor so I could hear her at night. Medication schedules covered the wall in my handwriting, color-coded by time of day. I hired a day nurse named Gladys for when I was at the store, but nights and weekends were mine. Mom needed me and I'd be there. Veronica's reaction was ice-cold calculation. She stood in the doorway watching me adjust Mom's IV drip, her arms crossed. Roland, she needs professional care. There's a facility in Riverside with excellent reviews. She's not going to some facility. She's my mother. And I'm your wife. Her perfect composure cracked, voice sharp. You're at her bedside every night. You've canceled 3 dinner reservations. When's the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about medication or doctor appointments? Veronica, she's dying. Can't you understand that? What I understand is that our marriage is dying too. The fights escalated daily. Veronica started leaving brochures for care facilities on the kitchen counter. Riverside Manor, Sunset Gardens, Pleasant Valley Senior Care. Each one glossier than the last, all promising dignity and professional care in the final journey. One evening, I came home from the store to find Veronica had packed Mom's things into boxes. Mom was propped up in bed, tears rolling down her paralyzed left cheek, while Veronica folded her clothes with mechanical efficiency. "The van from Riverside comes tomorrow morning," Veronica announced without looking up. "I've already paid the deposit." "You had no right." "I have every right. This is my house too. I live here, or have you forgotten? Your mother has taken over our lives, Roland. I can't even walk around in my nightgown anymore." I unpacked everything while Veronica slammed doors hard enough to shake the pictures on the walls. Mom whispered apologies I told her she didn't need to make. That night, Veronica slept in the basement guest room. It was the beginning of the end, though I didn't know it yet. The next 2 weeks were warfare. Veronica would accidentally turn off Mom's monitor. She'd schedule viewings at the house during Mom's bath time, bringing strangers through while Mom was most vulnerable. She complained about the smell of medications, the sound of the oxygen machine, the presence of Gladys during the day. "Your mother lived her life," Veronica said one morning, applying lipstick in our bathroom mirror. "Why should ours stop because hers is ending?" "Because that's what family does." "No, Roland, that's what martyrs do." The ultimatum came on a Thursday night. I'd just finished giving Mom her evening medications when I found Veronica in our bedroom, her silver carry-on and 2 larger suitcases laid out on the bed. She was folding her dresses with the same precision she used for everything, each movement deliberate and final. "I've been patient, Roland. I've tried to understand, but I won't compete with your mother for your attention." She placed a silk blouse in the suitcase without meeting my eyes. "It's her or me. Choose." "Ronnie, please. Just a few more months. The doctors said 3 to 6 months. It's been 1. I won't live like this for 5 more months. I won't be a ghost in my own home while you play nurse." She changed my diapers. She worked 3 jobs to keep me fed. She gave up everything after Dad died. "And now you're giving up everything for her, including me." Veronica zipped the first suitcase with finality. "I need an answer, Roland. Now. Her or me?" I looked at this woman I'd loved for 7 years, shared a bed with, built a life with. Her face was perfectly made up as always, not a hair out of place. Then I thought of Mom in the next room, who'd taught me to tie my shoes, who never missed a baseball game, who sold her engagement ring to keep the store running after Dad's death. "I choose Mom." Veronica's laugh was bitter and sharp. "You'll regret this. When she's gone and you're alone in this house that smells like death, remember that you chose this." She grabbed her suitcases. "My lawyer will send papers. I want the house." The door slammed. Mom whispered from the guest room, her voice slurred from the medications. "I'm sorry, son, so sorry." "Don't be. Some things matter more than others." The next 4 months became my entire world. I restructured everything around Mom's care, and surprisingly I found peace in the routine. My cousin Beatrice, a retired school teacher with a heart of gold, volunteered to manage the hardware store during the day. She'd worked retail before and picked up the inventory system quickly, even charming my grumpiest customers with her patience. "Roland, you take all the time you need," she said, organizing the paint section with military precision. "Your daddy would understand. The store will be here when you're ready." My Uncle Theodore, Mom's younger brother, stopped by every evening with groceries and home-cooked meals. He'd sit with Mom for hours, telling stories about their childhood on the farm, making her smile even when the pain was bad. "Remember when you pushed me in the creek for putting a frog in your lunchbox?" he'd say, and Mom would manage a weak laugh. The divorce papers arrived 3 weeks after Veronica left. I signed them without reading the details. She wanted the house we'd shared, half our savings, and the BMW we'd bought last year. Fine, take it all. I'd moved back to Mom's house after everything was over. Material things felt meaningless when I was measuring life in morphine doses and good days versus bad days. Mom's good days became fewer as April turned to May. On the clear days, when the medication fog lifted, she'd grip my hand and tell me things she needed me to know. How to make her secret meatloaf recipe, where she'd hidden Christmas presents she'd already bought for me. The story of how Dad proposed to her at the county fair, right by the Ferris wheel. But on one particular Thursday, something was different. Her eyes were sharp, urgent. She grabbed my hand with surprising strength, pulling me close to her face. "Roland, listen carefully. You need to know something important." Her voice was clearer than it had been in weeks. "In my closet, behind the panel with the rose wallpaper. Remember when you were 8 and put your baseball through the wall?" "Mom, you should rest." "No, listen to me. You were playing catch with Tommy Henderson in the house after I told you not to. The ball went right through the drywall. I was so mad I made you eat dinner in your room for a week." I remembered. It was the only time she'd ever been truly angry with me. "You patched it yourself with that awful wallpaper that didn't match." "I never fixed it properly. Behind that panel, Roland. After I'm gone, you look there. Promise me." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Her grip tightened, her good eye fixed on mine with intensity. "Promise me. Say it out loud." "I promise, Mom. I promise I'll look." She relaxed then, sinking back into the pillows. "You were always enough, my boy. Always remember that. You were more than enough." 2 days later, on a Saturday morning with sunlight streaming through the windows, Dorothy Deaver passed away. I was holding her hand, reading from her favorite book of poetry. She squeezed my fingers once, whispered something I couldn't quite hear, and then she was gone. Peaceful. Finally, free from pain. The funeral was small but meaningful. Uncle Theodore gave the eulogy, talking about Dorothy's strength, her dedication to family, her fierce independence. Beatrice held my arm as we buried Mom next to Dad in Riverside Cemetery. The hardware store regulars came, the Peterson family, Mrs. Chen, even grumpy Mr. Garrison, who Mom always gave free coffee to when he'd complain about prices. Veronica didn't come. I hadn't expected her to, but somehow her absence felt like another betrayal. 7 years of Sunday dinners, and she couldn't show up to say goodbye. That evening, alone in Mom's house, surrounded by sympathy cards and casserole dishes from neighbors, I remembered the promise. The closet still smelled like her lavender sachets and white shoulders perfume. Her clothes hung neatly, organized by color like always. Behind them, barely visible, was that ridiculous rose wallpaper patch, faded and peeling at the edges. The panel came loose easily, revealing a cavity in the wall I never knew existed. Inside was a safe, an actual built-in safe with a digital keypad. My hands shook as I tried various combinations. Her birthday, Dad's birthday, their anniversary, nothing worked. Then I tried my birthday, 071580. The lock clicked open. What I found inside changed everything. Neat stacks of $100 bills wrapped in bank bands, treasury bonds dating back 20 years, gold coins in protective cases, investment documents, and in the center, a thick manila envelope marked in Mom's careful handwriting, "For Roland, read immediately." I sat on her bed, counting with disbelief. $19 million. How was this possible? Mom clipped coupons. She bought generic cereal. She darned her own socks rather than buying new ones. We lived paycheck to paycheck after Dad died, or so I thought. The letter inside the envelope was dated 6 months ago, when Mom first got sick. I opened it with trembling fingers, and her familiar handwriting made my eyes burn with fresh tears. But what I read next made my blood run cold. The letter was written in Mom's careful cursive, the same handwriting that had signed permission slips and written grocery lists for 40 years. My dearest Roland, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you kept your promise. The money comes from your father's brother, your Uncle Malcolm, who you never met. He made a fortune in oil fields in Texas, but lived paranoid about gold diggers after his first wife emptied his accounts. When he died 5 years ago, he left everything to me with one condition. Never tell anyone, especially not your spouse, until after my death. He said, fortune hunters can smell money like sharks smell blood. I thought he was paranoid. I was wrong. Now the hard part. 6 months ago, when I still had my strength, I hired a private investigator named Conrad Hutchins. Something about Veronica never sat right. A mother knows when something threatens her child. The report is beneath this letter. Son, the woman you married isn't who she claims to be. Her real name is Victoria Bells. Please be strong for what comes next. All my love, Mom. Beneath the letter lay a bound report, 60 pages thick with photographs, documents, and official records. The cover page made my stomach drop. Investigation report. Subject Victoria Bells, aka multiple aliases, prepared by Hutchins Investigative Services. I sat on Mom's bedroom floor and read every word. The first page contained a photograph of Veronica at our wedding, smiling beside me. Next to it were 4 other wedding photos. The same woman in different dresses, with different men, all recent. Conrad Hutchins had been thorough. The report detailed everything. Subject's legal name, Victoria Bell's current active aliases, Veronica Deaver, Vivian Cooper, Valerie Morrison, Vanessa Hartley, Violet Nichols, active marriages, all currently legal. 1. Roland Deaver, hardware store owner, Indianapolis, Indiana, married 7 years. 2. Gerald Cooper, cattle rancher, Amarillo, Texas, married 5 years. 3. Patrick Morrison, retired fire chief, Phoenix, Arizona, married 4 years. 4. Stanley Hartley, orchard owner, Fresno, California, married 3 years. 5. Francis Nichols, antique dealer, Santa Fe, New Mexico, married 2 years. There were surveillance photos that made everything clear. Veronica kissing Gerald at his ranch. Veronica attending church with Patrick in Phoenix. Veronica helping Stanley at a farmer's market in Fresno. Those business trips suddenly had a sickening explanation. Page 23 contained financial records. She'd been systematically draining small amounts from each husband, never enough to raise suspicion. $10,000 here for a real estate investment opportunity. $15,000 there for licensing and continued education. Multiply that by 5 husbands, and she was pulling in serious money. But the worst revelation came on page 43. Subject's pattern analysis. Targets men aged 40-50, business owners or substantial property holders, typically divorced or widowed. Maintains marriages until subject's elderly parents pass away and inheritance is settled. Previous confirmed victims: Dennis Crenshaw, 2016, wife who left 1 month after father's death, lost $800,000 inheritance in divorce settlement. Arthur Penbridge, 2018, wife disappeared 3 weeks after mother's funeral with $400,000 from estate. Robert Yankowski, 2019. Wife divorced him 2 months after mother's death, received half of $1.2 million inheritance. Current assessment: subject actively encouraging all 5 husbands to institutionalize elderly parents. Gerald Cooper's mother moved to memory care facility last month. Patrick Morrison's father recently relocated to assisted living. Pattern suggests coordinated effort to accelerate access to inheritances. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn the pages. The next section destroyed any remaining doubt. Warning: subject maintains rental property at 1847 Cascade Drive, apartment 12B, under name Victoria Bells. Surveillance reveals regular meetings with Vincent Bells, age 45, confirmed to be subject's legal husband of 12 years. Recorded conversations indicate they operate as a team. Vincent manages logistics while Victoria maintains the marriages. Transcript from surveillance dated April 2nd. Vincent: how much longer with the hardware store owner? Victoria: His mother is hanging on, maybe 2 months. Vincent, the old bat needs to hurry up and die. Victoria, patience. Once she's gone, I get the house and the divorce. That's another $300,000. Vincent, beautiful. The rancher? Victoria, his mother's already in a home. I'm working on power of attorney. Estimated combined net worth of 5 current husbands. 47 million projected harvest upon completion, 12 of 15 million. I vomited in Mom's bathroom, then sat on the cold tile floor with my phone, dialing the number on Conrad Hutchins' business card. His gravelly voice answered on the second ring. Mr. Deaver, I'm sorry for your loss. Your mother was a remarkable woman. You knew? You knew all this and talked to her? She hired me, Mr. Deaver. Smart lady. She could sense something was wrong, called it mother's intuition. Paid me extra to keep monitoring after her death, make sure you were safe. She was worried Victoria might try something once the inheritance came through. What do I do? This can't be legal. She's married to 5 other men. First, secure those funds. Move them tomorrow morning. Then we contact the other husbands. They deserve to know. After that, we go to the FBI. This is interstate fraud, bigamy, conspiracy. These people are going to prison for a long time. I met the other 4 husbands at Gerald's ranch in Texas 2 weeks later. Conrad Hutchins had contacted each of them with the evidence, and they'd all flown in immediately. We sat around Gerald's dining table, 5 strangers united by the same woman's deception. The silence was deafening as Conrad spread out the surveillance photos and documents. Stanley laughed first, sharp and bitter. My daughter never liked her. Said she was too perfect, too interested in Dad's finances. I told her she was being paranoid. Patrick's hands shook as he held his coffee mug. My father has maybe 3 months left. She's been pushing me to get all the inheritance paperwork in order, making sure she's listed as beneficiary on everything. My mother doesn't even recognize me anymore, Gerald said quietly. Veronica convinced me the memory care facility was best for everyone. I visit her every day, and she asks who I am. Francis, the youngest of us at 42, had tears in his eyes. We've been trying to have kids. She's been giving me fertility pills. Now, I'm wondering what they really were. We contacted the FBI that afternoon from Gerald's study. Agent Martinez from the White Collar Crime Division took our case seriously, especially when Conrad presented 12 boxes of evidence documenting the entire operation. Within 72 hours, they had warrants for Victoria and Vincent Bells across 5 states. The raid on their apartment was coordinated with local law enforcement. They found detailed files on each of us, financial records, insurance policies, our parents' medical information, even psychological profiles outlining our vulnerabilities. Victoria had notes about my devotion to my mother, Gerald's guilt about his success, Patrick's loneliness after early retirement. She'd studied us like lab specimens, finding exactly what buttons to push. They arrested Victoria at Francis's antique shop in Santa Fe. She was playing the devoted wife, helping him catalog a new shipment. The FBI agent said she didn't even try to run, just smiled and asked if she could call her lawyer. Vincent tried to flee, but was caught at the Mexican border with $2 million in cash and false passports for both of them. They'd been planning their final exit once all our parents had passed and the inheritances were secured. The trial became a media sensation. The 5-husband con woman made headlines across the country. Victoria got 25 years for fraud, bigamy, and conspiracy. Vincent got 30 as the mastermind. They recovered some money for Dennis, Arthur, and Robert, the previous victims, though not enough to heal those wounds completely. The other husbands and I stayed in touch. We formed an odd brotherhood, bound by shared humiliation and betrayal. Gerald started dating his high school sweetheart, someone who knew him before the money. Patrick volunteers at a senior center now, teaching fire safety to kids. Stanley sold his orchard and travels, sending postcards from places Victoria never took him. Francis met someone real at a grief support group, another person rebuilding after deception. I kept Mom's house and sold the one I'd shared with Veronica. The hardware store thrives now. I hired 2 kids, fresh from trade school, Marcus and Janet, eager to learn the business. Uncle Theodore helps on weekends, telling customers stories about the store's history. Beatrice still handles the books, refusing to let me pay her full wages because family doesn't profit from family. With part of Uncle Malcolm's inheritance, I created the Dorothy Deaver Foundation. It helps elderly parents afford in-home care so their children don't face impossible choices. We've helped 43 families so far, keeping parents and children together during those final precious months. Mom would have loved that, knowing her story helped other families avoid the manipulation we faced. Last month, Beatrice introduced me to her friend Judith, a kindergarten teacher with kind eyes and a laugh that fills the room. She brings her students to the store for tool time lessons, teaching them about measuring and building. She knows my whole story and doesn't care. "Everyone has scars," she said on our 3rd date. "It's what you do with them that matters." We're taking it slow. Trust doesn't come easy anymore, but I'm learning that not everyone who smiles is hiding something sinister. Some people are just genuinely good, like Mom was, like Dad was, like the community that rallied around me when the truth came out. Every Sunday, I bring fresh flowers to Mom's grave. The headstone reads, Dorothy Deaver, Mother, Protector, Hero. I tell her about the families we've helped, about the store's success, about Judith's terrible cooking that somehow tastes perfect. The wind rustles through the oak trees she loved, and sometimes I catch the scent of lavender, though there's none planted nearby. Mom saved me by dying, by keeping that secret until the exact right moment, by trusting her instincts when I was too blind to see. She gave me more than money. She gave me truth, and truth, even when it hurts, is always a gift. Some people leave you money, others leave you wisdom. Mom left me both, wrapped in a love that extended beyond death itself. Her final act of motherhood was making sure that when she couldn't protect me anymore, the truth would. That's my story, friends. If you found value in hearing about how my mother's intuition saved me from a $19 million con, please hit that like button below. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that mother's intuition is real, and that sometimes the people who love us see dangers we're too close to recognize. Drop a comment telling me about a time someone's intuition protected you, or when you wished you'd listened to that gut feeling about someone. I read every single comment and respond to as many as I can. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Every week, we share real experiences that remind us that truth really is stranger than fiction. Until next time, remember to trust the people who truly love you. They often see what we cannot.